All right, back at it with part two. Hey, Raymart.
Hello.
If you haven't watched the part one, watching and seeing all the photos of Raymart having fun eating not eating, actually, you probably ate that fried chicken cake.
I did.
You did, and dancing and everything. Check out part one. But for part two, I think what we're going to talk about is more about your involvement with the Alumni Ambassador program and your time in Japan more in depth. So, how does that sound?
Yeah, I'm very keen to talk about it. It's just like walking down memory lane for me right now.
Well, firstly, being an alumni ambassador, like obviously the name is pretty self-explanatory, but yeah, what is expected of you if you do become an ambassador, and how do you become one?
Yeah, okay. So the NCP Alumni Ambassador program, I think, has been running for the last maybe 2 to 3 years now.
Yeah.
And essentially, each university in Australia has an NTP Alumni Ambassador.
Mm.
Some of the bigger ones have two, a deputy as well. And really, it's all about promoting the New Climate Plan and particularly targeting it towards, diverse students as well, to kind of diversify the people that get involved, because, it's such a transformative experience, and it could change someone's life as, potentially. So
Just like
just
yours.
getting, yeah, well, basically, I mean, I fit a couple of the kind of, diverse background sort of
Yeah.
criterions, like first and family to 10 uni, and regional. I'm from Gympie, if you know where that is. It's like 1 hour north of the sunny coast, or 2 hours north of
Mm.
Brisbane.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, sort of low SES and things like that. And so I never thought I'd go on a study abroad program. And so next minute I was over for 16 months, and such such a transformative experience. I just want to also give back and
Yeah.
try and change someone else's life if I can. So by promoting it and encouraging them to apply for it. So yeah.
How did you hear about the program, and what sort of made you want to apply, apart from what you just said?
For the Alumni Ambassador program.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically heard about it through my ILO, who which for those that don't know what that is, it's International Liaison Officer,
Mm-hmm.
and it's essentially your contact at a university who looks after the NCP. And I knew her because I am also a student ambassador, so at my university. So one of those people that goes out to schools and promotes the university. And on one of the events, I met my ILO, who was in a different role at the time, and so I had a really good relationship with her. And so she talked to me about this program. I'm like, yeah, I would love to do this. And I knew the person that came before me,
Yeah.
because we both served on the student rep council together. And yeah, I just wanted to do it, and applied for it, and I got it. So I was very lucky to get it with it, because I think there's a pool of I think there was 600 applications from
600.
what I heard, not from USC, but from all over Australia. So yeah, very competitive.
Oh, wow. And yeah, was there any projects or initiatives that you had in mind that you wanted to implement to help promote the program? Like obviously the one that you said, going back to Japan, well, that's on hold, but was there anything that you wanted to, incorporate or implement?
Yeah, I mean, I was super keen, so I developed like this list of things I wanted to do, because like I said, it was just such a transformative experience that I just wanted to
Yeah.
get it out there. Um, not just in the university community, because I think the role has a bit of a there's like three areas basically. So the first one is the promotions to students. The second one is like the alumni engagement of the NCP people at university, and also the third one is kind of like community engagement as well. So engaging with your community and promoting it in schools or with political figures or whatever. And so I guess in those domains, I think some of the key things was I really wanted to do was like have this morning tea with like university executive, and have like academics as well come along and have like this immersive, interactive cave experience. So cave is like this technology that we have at our uni,
You're in a
where it's like,
cave or?
yeah, well, kind of, yeah. So you're basically surrounded by 270 degrees of
So cool.
screens,
Yeah.
and it has 3D capabilities. But I just wanted to do a 2D thing and just kind of have people provide a little video of the experiences and have it play and just that sort of thing with academics, so that they would also buy into the program, promote it. But unfortunately, that couldn't happen because COVID. Because 2020, right?
The go-to reason, excuse, COVID, because of COVID.
Yeah, damn COVID.
I see. Yeah, and I think going to Canberra along with everyone in 2019 is a highlight as well. Prior to that, the only time you went was when you were actually a scholar and actually getting the award.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it was getting the award, but also attending the interview was my first time in Canberra, actually. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that was the only, the major event, the one that we went to in 2019 for this because of COVID. And to build on my last response, I guess we also were trying to, like the NCP Queensland ambassadors, we're also trying to plan an event, but obviously COVID. But we are kind of currently working with the Australian Institute of International Affairs to have an event in Brisbane next month. However, there was a cluster that came out yesterday, I think, in Brisbane. So I'm not sure how that's going to go from a face-to-face perspective, but hopefully it all gets better. But yeah.
Have you been to any of the virtual fairs or these networking events? And do you think that could be a possibility? In the past, I have been to some, and they've sort of crashed, and they didn't really work. But do you foresee doing a lot of stuff virtually for that?
I mean, if this event doesn't work face to face, then it will probably move to a virtual environment. And I mean, if it's more of a webinar kind of thing and like interactive in terms of asking questions, I think that would work. But I also have seen really successful organizations, youth organizations, foster the networking, and I think it's really only possible through if you use certain technologies like apps and things like that. But I mean, that could be an idea, which thank you for your inspiration.
No, I'm looking forward to it.
Please come along. Have you gone to any of those sorts of events in your state?
For the NCP, not so much for myself, but a lot of webinars and a lot of networking events have, I guess, been hosted not in Sydney, but also overseas as well. Like the beauty now is that you can just zoom into any sort of call overseas. I was a part of Toastmasters, and Toastmasters holds meetings all over the world. So if you fancy going to a Toastmasters meeting in India, Korea, USA, in Europe, you can just like zoop, and you're just like in the call with like everyone. And I think that's one of the bright spots and the optimistic things that have come out of COVID.
Well, I remember a few weeks ago there was like this AIIA, which is the Australian Institute of International Affairs event, where this academic was talking about North Korea, and his work revolves around I guess exploring North Korea from the outsider's perspective. And I was cooking dinner at the same time as watching the webinar, and that was cool, I thought.
Yeah, it's an interesting time. Are you also doing your classes online as well, or have they gone back to face-to-face in Queensland?
Yeah, we've gone back to face-to-face as of 2 weeks ago now. No, last week actually. Half of my courses are online because I have work on those days, and so it's just easier if I just switch on to my online class. But most of the time, mainly for my language classes, I'm on campus.
And speaking of classes, classes in Japan, going to both two universities and changing your degree halfway through your scholarship, I think that is like NTP is already like crazy enough with all the experiences. What made you want to change your degree from environmental sciences to now international relations? Was there like something that sort of sparked that?
I think actually it's a funny thing because even prior to when I was going to Japan, I was considering changing, and I was like, no, I can't. I don't really want to, because I've changed in the past before as well, and prior to going to Japan, I was also concurrently studying another degree. So yeah, I mean, it was really talked about, and I kind of thought I would find it interesting. So at my first university, I decided to do some courses that align to international relations, and I did them, and I thought they were just so fascinating, that more interesting than the subjects that I was previously studying. And I'm like, okay, yep, I'm sold. And so I talked to my case manager, and it was possible, as long as I got credit for the first semester of studies, and I could, because they were just electives anyway. So that was lucky, and I just never looked back. And yes, it has added a bit of extra time to my degree, but zero regrets.
Zero regrets. Yeah, I've had my fair share of changing degrees as well. I started off with engineering and arts, double degree, so very like polar opposites. Now I'm studying. I went through law. But now I'm studying commerce and arts, and I guess the only thing that was stayed constant was arts for me. Yeah, I think that's my passion. Yeah.
What made you change to that?
Just well, first I got the marks for engineering, and it was just the professional career prospects for engineering, but it just never really clicked with me. But now I'm studying something I really do enjoy, and so I think that should be like on the top of the list when you're actually choosing degrees, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when I was kind of growing up, and I think this kind of is part of growing up as a first in family to attend uni. You don't have, like my immediate family members, never really went to university, and so I just didn't really know what they were studying.
I totally understand.
And I guess also, in Gympie, I wasn't really exposed to too many careers, and I didn't know how to look for different careers, or like when I looked at the careers guide that they gave you in like grade 10 or 11, I'm like, oh, what's this? And I just didn't understand, I think, in high school. But again, like I said, zero regrets, and I just love what I do now. Yeah,
and I think traveling to discover that on exchange is, I think, the best way to do that. So and with Japan, everyone likes to go to Japan as like a tourist, like go-to spot, right? Let's go to Tokyo, Kyoto, Hiroshima. Maybe not so much Hokkaido or Sapporo. Not as popular as those other.
It should be though.
It should be. It should be. Like, what's obviously you've been to probably the other three main cities, but like, what's so different about Sapporo and like Hokkaido?
Yeah, that's a great question. I loved Sapporo. It was the first place that I went to in Japan. I mean, I went to Tokyo first, obviously, to transfer, but the first place I lived in was Sapporo, and it was just such an amazing place. And I mean, I come from Queensland, and I can't say I've ever experienced the snow in Queensland. But going to Sapporo, I went in December 2017, the first time. And there was just so much snow everywhere. I'm like, how do I do this? How do I live in this?
It's not the same as the sand on the Gold Coast, mate.
No, definitely not. And yeah, I mean, that was amazing experience. But in terms of the actual place, the food is amazing. It's so different. I guess the food's different in each city, because each city is famous for its own stuff. But they had these amazing soup curries. They had these amazing like this ramen street. So good, quite cheap, open to midnight usually sometimes, and also the natural environment as well. I mean, you can't really see much, I guess, in the winter, but come the summer, it's absolutely gorgeous, and it's green everywhere, and the summers are much nicer, so about maybe 25 degrees or 30 degrees, whereas in like Tokyo it's very humid, and Kyoto especially is very humid. So the weather is also a bonus, and the people are just so lovely.
Did you go to the Sapporo, the beer Sapporo factory? Or is that just like not a thing?
Yeah, I mean, no, it is a thing. I didn't go, but it is a thing. A lot of my friends went. I'm not really a beer fan though, so that's why. But they had amazing festivals on like the main strip. So like a Dory Park, I guess is well, that's what it's called, but I guess it's very similar in a sense to maybe a downsized version, a super downsized version of New York's Central Park. It's not as big, but it's like it's kind of modeled on that, having that green area in the middle of the city.
Gotcha.
And they have lots of festivals there, and I remember there was a cheese and wine festival that was amazing. They had the Christmas like night markets, kind of similar to what you would see in Germany. And first
During
time
Christmas?
experiencing, I was there in Christmas. First time experiencing a Northern Hemispherian Christmas, like an actual snowy Christmas.
The Christmas markets in Europe, they're amazing, aren't they?
Yeah, I've never been to one, but this gave me a really good first impression of them.
Yeah. Awesome. And I guess aside from all those cultural aspects, was there any, like did you watch anime and stuff when you were like younger, or like indulge yourself in Japanese culture that way?
Not as excessively as some other people that I've talked to.
Yeah.
See, I love anime, but I wasn't, I guess, obsessed with it like many other people who come to Japan. For me, what really fascinated me was, the technology that they have going, the advancements they have. The toilets are pretty interesting too, actually.
The button presses.
I think that was a bit of a shock when I first went to the bathroom. I'm like, oh, there's so many buttons.
Button.
Which one do I press? And actually, one of my
All
friends... Yeah, don't do that. One of my friends, when she visited me in Japan, I pressed a button accidentally, and it was just like shooting water everywhere. And I'm like, it's like, how do you stop this? I'm like, you press the stop button.
Every other button, there's just like the stop button right there.
Yeah.
No, I totally understand. I did that in Korea, and they have the same sort of toilets. Yeah, I got sprayed so hard.
Oh, that reminds me of like a place that I went to in Japan. It's like a tourist place, and I went to the bathroom and I opened the cubicle door, and then this disco light ball comes on. I'm like, oh, that's exciting.
From the ceiling? Like
from
just
the ceiling.
Always...
Yeah, and like starts playing and rotating, and then like there's lights everywhere. I'm like, oh, okay, this is the most interesting experience I've had in my life.
This is just like in a random shopping center, not like in a club or something. It's just like a random...
No. Yeah, it was part of this this tourist place. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a tourist place. Yeah.
I wouldn't expect every toilet I go to in Japan like have like a disco ball lower every time I go to the loo.
Well, actually, I saw this article the other day where somewhere in Tokyo they have designed these bathrooms where they have like it's like this really like bright color, like red, green, yellow, blue, and it's see-through when no one's in there, but when someone's in there, like it just fogs up and darkens, and it's so pretty, and that they really have a nice, not that I think that's always a thing to be proud of, but like they have a nice toilet culture.
Yeah. No, something definitely Australia can learn.
Oh yeah 100%.
That's it. Awesome. Well, yeah, and obviously aside from the tech and the obvious cultural anime associations that you have with Japan, let's say the business standpoint, like when you like I went to a couple of like cross-cultural courses where you understand Hofstede's cultural dimensions, where Japan is a lot more different on the scale compared to Australia. Did you really see that when you were speaking to or making friends with other Japanese people? Was that pretty obvious, or was that something that you just, I guess, just got used to and it wasn't as obvious as it is?
Yeah, good question. I think I started to embrace that culture, and I did see myself. I think I still see myself doing it in the way that the Japanese people would do it, like kind of step around the point sort of thing, and be very
not direct.
Not direct, be very indirect. Yeah, thank you. And it did take a little while to get used to, and I think having that in the back of my mind was useful sometimes when I was talking with Japanese people, but also to make sure that I wasn't doing anything wrong too. So, like for example, being on time is a big thing. And I mean, the latest I've ever been probably about 2 minutes. So, so but I've tried to
Everything is
always,
very punctual, yeah?
yeah, be very early
Yeah.
and respect other people's time when we have group assignments and things like that.
Mm.
And yeah, I actually, it didn't shock me too much because I think I attended those courses too, and it really helped frame everything, and I just embraced it, I guess.
Was there a moment where you were like, just like, the culture shock was just like so apparent that you were like, I did not expect that?
um, See, I think the only time that ever shocked me was the first week when I
Mm.
was there, because I was actually traveling prior to being in Japan. I was in Italy
Mm.
for maybe a month, I think, or 3 weeks,
Mm.
3 weeks to a month, and because I had to make lots of new friends in Italy, and then I left them and went to Japan. I had to make, completely new environment,
Yeah.
make new friends.
Yeah.
I think that first week was a big culture shock in terms of, you know, going to the shops and um, learning the new supermarket system, and the language was a big shock because you can't really get away with English.
Mm.
Maybe in Tokyo, but in other places like Sapporo, you probably can't really get away with English that much.
Mm. Mm.
So, and I'd had minimal Japanese knowledge at that time. But in terms of other things, no, nothing really shocked me because I just love Japan so much that I was just willing to do it like the Japanese, or like that old saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans do.
100%, 100%. And yeah, wow. Mm. Yeah, now looking back, I think on your experience like a year ago, 2 years ago,
Both.
both. Yeah, what do you miss the most now about traveling? I think everyone misses traveling for different reasons, but yeah, because
Mm.
obviously we're trapped now here in Australia. Not trapped, like we've got to stay here. But like, what do you miss the most about just traveling and going overseas?
Yeah. Well, I think it would be around people really, and that's kind of
Mm.
like a classic NCP connection, people to people connection.
That's
But
why we're
it's so
scholars.
that's what I was called. But it's so true though,
Yeah.
because like I traveled a lot. I think when I was in Japan, I went to places like Korea,
Mm.
Taiwan, um, and all around Japan as well. And I'd always try and use my weekends to travel um, around the place or find new places and things like that. I think there's two things really, and one of them was just people. So um, catching up with people that I already met and meeting new people,
Mm.
whether that's at a restaurant or whatever
Mm.
place that I'd go to, or a tourist activity. There'd be other people that I could, you know, chat with and things like that. And the second one is just the adventure really. And when I say the adventure, I mean, the physical adventure, but also the culinary adventure. And
You're a big foodie.
huge foodie. And there's one of the best places you could ever go to as a foodie is Japan, because the food is
Mm.
just amazing. I don't think I've ever had a bad food experience except for maybe at like a fast food joint that we all have here in Australia. So
Doesn't like Japan have like the most Michelin star restaurants by country, I think? Or
probably I don't really know much about that, but that
yeah.
wouldn't surprise me if that's the case.
Awesome, mate. Well, to cap off the episode in the podcast, I like to ask you. I know it's hard to narrow down one experience that really changed
Oh,
you on the New Colombo
now
Plain
you're
Scholarship.
asking.
Yeah. Was there like one standout story or event that happened to you that really changed you, personally or professionally, or yeah, just anything that you would just remember, the first thing you remember, or when you look back at your scholarship?
Yeah. Oh, that's a really tough question.
Hmm.
See, two things come to mind.
Mm.
Am I allowed to do two?
I'll let the exception.
Thank you. Um, for me, the first standout thing was language. I mean, like learning Japanese and
Mm.
using it, and helping other Japanese people with with learning English as well, which was just such an amazing thing. And I think one of the standout interactions was there was this person at the language school that I went to, and she understood English but didn't really speak it that well, and I understood a little bit of Japanese, but I didn't speak it well at all. And so she would speak to me in Japanese, and I would speak to her in English, and we understood each other. And I thought that was just the most amazing thing I've ever experienced in terms of language. And yeah, I do have a, I guess, a linguistically diverse background, because my mum is Filipino and my dad's Yugoslavian, but I never picked up the language. So for me, it kind of was amazing, and also kind of reaffirmed my identity in some sense, with this linguistically diverse background, and it's just made me want to study, well, I'll say all the languages, but not as many as I can.
One at a time.
Well, actually, I'm doing 2 right now, so
take that back. 2 at a time.
I'm doing Indonesian. I think my Indonesian is going better than Japanese, because it's a little bit easier, I think. But okay. And then the second thing was probably more around my studies, and it was at my second university, Akita International University. And for those, I guess, that are listening, don't judge a university by its how regional it is, because I had the best time at this university, which, you know, on paper it looks like it's in the middle of nowhere, because it is in the middle of nowhere. There are bears around the campus, and
literal bears.
And there was one instance, I remember my friend a few doors down from where I was living said to me, I had to run here because when I left the apartment, I saw this baby bear walk past my the side of the apartment. So I thought that was kind of strange as an Australian, but that kind of highlights how the place was in the middle of nowhere, and it was a bit far from the actual city where all the services kind of were. Like you had to take a 30-minute bus ride, but or more, depending on the day when there were services or not. But the education that I got at this place, and the friends that I made from Japan and all over the world, and actually just yesterday yesterday was Sunday. Some of our study abroad people, we got together and just had a Facebook Messenger group call, and kind of aligned it to the time. So it was like 8 a.m. here in Australia, 6 p.m. in Eastern United States, and about 11 in Ireland. So we try to get everyone's time zones kind of right, and that was just amazing, and just the people, I think, and also the education. And I have one kind of standout professor at Akita International University that just changed further validated why I changed my degree, international relations. And actually, in my first or second week, he was a bit tired, so he's like, "Raymart, teach the class." I'm like, "Okay."
This is my first week here, but all right, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, well, it was more about facilitating discussions, but he
gotcha.
But he got me to stand up in front of the class, and I'm like, "Okay, I'll do that." I just got into this class, and first time at this university. I can do it. It's like I think there was 30 people in the class, but anyway.
No biggie.
No biggie.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So all of that was super transformative, super amazing, and has just changed how I've looked at the world, I guess.
Yeah, I think your point about not judging a book by its cover and judging a university by its location, I think you would know, because you're from the regional area as well, in Queensland. So I think going to that environment and enjoying and really appreciating the landscape and the isolation in some ways, compared to coming back to Australia, where it's always busy in Brisbane or the Gold Coast. So no, mate, I am super jealous, and this is why I love doing these podcasts. I just love hearing these stories. It's like just live vicariously through all of your experiences. So.
Yeah, well, can I ask you a question about,
of course,
what was your proposed program if 2020 didn't happen the way it did?
My host location was China, and my secondary location was Vietnam. And I'm really passionate about smart cities and how technology and the physical environment can come together to make our lives a lot easier. I'm sure in Japan there was a lot of instances of that, but let's say like, yeah, just like really simple things about trains running on time in Japan. Like in Sydney, I mean, in particular, oh my gosh, we can use that technology. Um,
Oh, wait till you come up here. Like, there's like when I was in Gympie, because I actually came back for 3 months, and
yeah.
I used that train to get to the sunny coast, and it comes like once a day, and I'm like, oh, what? and
Anywhere between the 24 hours, that's when.
and at the most inconvenient times too. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and yeah, I just wanted to go to China and Shanghai, Beijing, just to. I was interested in learning Mandarin as well, and just yeah, I went there the year before, and I just really loved it. So I just wanted to go back,
Mm,
and I just wanted to also go Vietnam because I'm also Vietnamese, and I just wanted to explore Vietnam. I guess as well by myself. I usually go with family all the time, but I also
mm,
wanted to just experience the culture in that way, and just like yeah, because I grew up in Australia all my life, but going back to
mm.
Vietnam would be an interesting experience in that way.
Yeah, that's on my bucket list, Vietnam, actually. I worked with Asia Link Business for um, 4 months and 5 months, working under Elise Giles, and I'd always listen and hear her kind of experiences and about Vietnam and loving to Vietnam, and I think it's really inspired me to want to go as well.
Mate, it's a small world. I'm currently interning there right now, and she's my manager as well.
I thought you were.
That's
Well, tell her
awesome.
I said hi, please.
I will. I definitely will. Did you do it online or virtual as well?
Yeah, I was actually working from home before it was cool.
Well, it was because you were based in Queensland.
Yeah, because I
Yeah, yeah.
was with them since January, and then yeah, so that was pre-COVID lockdown. So
Ah, no. Oh, good, mate. Well, no, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm sure everyone who are supposed to have went to Japan over the winter break for us is super jealous right now hearing all your stories. But no, I really do appreciate your time, and hopefully we can go traveling soon, huh?
yeah, right. And no, thanks so much for having me. And for anyone that wants to go to Japan or will be going to Japan, just let me know because I would love to chat to people and I don't know, try and give you some tips or
Yeah,
advice or suggestions or whatever. Oh,
definitely. So,
and best
yeah,
fried chicken places as well.
what was your favorite?
Oh, well, I think number one was probably the convenience store fried chicken at Family Mart.
I was expecting like a fancy restaurant.
I mean, there was only fancy fried chicken restaurants in
True.
Korea, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Nah, that's amazing. All right, mate. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll chat to you soon.
Thank you.